Greetings and welcome. My name is Aaron Craig with Let's Learn This Together. And today we're going to be tackling the Tileset editor in GameMaker Studio. The Tileset editor is a fantastic tool that allows you to create an almost infinite variety of levels and do it really quickly and beautifully with the tools that they've got. So what we're going to be covering today is how to create tile sets, creating your own brushes, how to set up animated tiles, and how to prepare auto tiles. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So to create a tile set, you actually need to have two assets. The first one is a tile set sprite, and then you need to make a tile set asset itself. So when you have a sprite, and if you're not sure how to get one, be sure and check out the sprite editor where I go over in depth how to create, add in your own sprites, and get them working just the way you want. But once you've got your own sprite right here, this is a tile set. It's just one large sprite. It's an image of 2048 by 1024. It's not split up into frames or anything. This is a tile set for the dungeon. Then you go to where you want to make the tile sets, right click, and create a tile set. I'm going to call this one T Dungeon. You could also name it TS Dungeon or whatever. It's going to be T Dungeon Tiles in essence, but since they already have that name, we're going to come up with our own. And I'm going to be replicating what we've got here and showing you how to do that step by step along the way. So now we have our tile set. Over on the left here is the primary window, which you've seen if you've made objects or sprites before. This holds the name, which you can change. It holds which sprite is assigned, so you can make a new one here. You can choose one to assign it, which we're going to do right now. And then it comes over here in the preview pane. You can also edit the sprite or edit the image directly itself. Now the tile properties are what we're looking at here. So we have them on the right, and we can see all of our tile set right here. Now this is a very dense grid, and that's because by default it is 16 by 16. Now most tile sets are going to come in either 16 by 16, 32 by 32, or 64 by 64. You can check out each one and see how well that looks. Now this looks a little better, but this is an entire frame or image inside of our tile set, and it's still broken into 4 parts, which isn't what we want. So let's go ahead and try 64 by 64, and there we go. Now each one of these is its own frame. And you can see here that the grid actually starts one over from the top left. So if you ever get a tile set and it starts in the top left, GameMaker is going to cut that off. But fortunately, you can come into the sprite and you can just push it over by however large that tile set is, both over and down, and you'll be good to go. The excess space on the bottom or on the right isn't a big deal, so don't worry too much about that. Now, let's go over the tile properties that we've got here. The first, which we've already played with, is the width and height. Make sure that is set correctly, otherwise you're going to have a slew of problems. Then we have offset X and Y. And this is if your tile set is not prepared exactly as you see here. You can move the X over by a certain amount or down by a certain amount. We don't need to, so I'm going to leave those at 0. Separation is the same idea as if there were space between the tiles. So if we do this, then each one is going to skip a tile, but again, we don't need to do that. Finally, we have border X and Y, and this is only used if you're going to be zooming into your tile sets more than you would expect right here. It is a way of increasing the graphical fidelity when rendering the tiles to make them look better. In essence, you don't need to touch it. 2 is sufficient for what it is, unless you're actually going to be zooming in and out. In that case, you might want to look more into it. The group is for the textures, which we're just going to leave at default, and leave disable source sprite export checked unless you're going to be using your tile set sprite as something besides a tile set. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but this makes it so that it only gets exported once, saves some texture size and space. So unless you are going to be using this somewhere else for another reason, you don't need to worry about that. Okay, let's get on to the fun stuff. We have the brush builder, tile animation, and auto tiling. Let's go ahead and start with the brush builder. So if we open that up, it brings a whole new window to us, and we can expand this and take a look at it. Now the brush builder allows you to create your own custom brushes that you can quickly and easily then apply inside of your room. So to test this out and to be able to actually see it in action, I'm going to go ahead and make a new room over here by right-clicking, New Room. I'm just going to call this Room Dungeon 2. And I'm going to make a new tile layer. And if any of this is unfamiliar, then be sure to check out the room editor video that is also up and available for you to learn all about the room editor and layers. But once we have the tile layer, we have a new tab over here called Room Editor where we can select the tile set we want to use. So we'll go to T Dungeon, which is ours, and you can see that the grid immediately changes as well to match the size of our tiles. So by default, you've got your tile set, and you can click on them kind of one at a time, or you can select a group, and then you can place them inside of here. Now, if you've got pre-made houses and trees, this works really well for just putting a few in at a time. You can left mouse button and just put them there. But for larger rooms and ones that you want to have more detail, this just doesn't really work. It'll take really, really long time, and there's also stuff that you can't do with it, like making an animated tile. So we have something called brushes. Now, I will admit this specific tile set is not fantastic for showing off this feature, but hopefully you'll get the idea. Let's say we really, really like these 4 tiles together, and we just love them so much that we're going to use them all over the place, but we don't want to have to come in here and select them every time. What we can do is come down and check editing mode on, and then with those tiles we want selected, we can come down here and left click inside. We can turn editing mode off, and then on the brush we can actually just select this, and now this is the brush that we're actually doing. And you can do this for any combination of tiles you want that are close together. So turn editing mode on, select the tiles you want, deselect the tiles down here. You might have to select these ones one more time, and then you can put them inside for that brush. And then to use them, turn editing mode back off. So this is a really, really great way to make custom brushes if you had trees, if you had houses inside of your tile set pre-made. You can do this to save a lot of time. Now we don't want these here, so I'm going to right click and delete all of these. Anything you right click over will delete it. Press escape to stop selecting it. But that's how you make brushes in here, and the idea is the same over here. So I usually use the room editor brush creator, but you can also come in here and do the exact same thing. And you have a bunch of tools for drawing, erasing specific ones inside of here if you didn't like them. And you can do a line tool and all sorts of other things. It's very similar to the image editor where you can make your own images in GameMaker, but this time you're working with tiles. And you can also rotate them and more. But that's the brush builder. Really powerful, really awesome, but definitely not the most exciting thing in the tile sets. So let's go ahead and move on to the next set, which is tile animation. So again, we click on this, it opens up a new window for us, and now we can create our own brushes that are animated. So let's click on Add Animation. We can set the number of frames to 2, 4, all the way up to 256. I'll go ahead and choose one that is 16 frames, and then you just need to start your selection and just keep clicking, and it's going to set it each new one you do until it fills it all the way up. And then it's completely full. Now if I press play, this is now an animated tile. So let's go ahead and do one more of this one, so another 16. And you gotta click one at a time. This is really great if your tiles are far apart as well. You can still use them to be animated. Now let's go back into the room, and in our libraries, we have Animation 1 and Animation 2. It'd be a good idea to name these, but for now, I can press this inside of here, and I'll go ahead and zoom in, and I can press play, and now this is an animated tile that you can just put anywhere you want inside of your game. It's really cool, really powerful stuff. So that's animated tiles. You gotta have the right tile set for it. It has to be in there somewhere, but once you do, it looks really cool and it adds a lot to your game with very little overhead. Next up, let's tackle the auto tiling. This is the feature that I am most excited about because it allows you to create a huge level in just a little bit of time. So there are 2 different auto tile sets you can choose from, 47 and 16. They're not compatible with themselves, so if you have one, you probably don't have the other, but that's okay because as long as you have one, you'll be all set. So if we click on 16, you can see it has 16 different frames for us to select tiles from. And if we start selecting, it will fill them up. It has a guide to show you which tiles you're supposed to put inside of there. The guide's a little bit confusing, especially when you're just starting out, but the cool thing is you can just fill it up, go test it out in your room, and if something doesn't look right, you can just mix and match with the tiles until you get it figured out. Now, we don't have a 16, instead this one has a 47. So the very first tile is going to be a filled in one, which is going to be this ground solid one. And then for this one, it moves over a little bit, and we're actually going to start with this one. You can see there's one light gray space, which is the wall portion of whatever tile set you're doing here. Now, it doesn't have to be a wall, it can be a forest, it can be anything you want, but the light gray section is going to be the part that is not the ground. So we're going to start here, and this one, fortunately, is just ordered exactly as you see. So I can just click on through, and this is set up exactly as it needs to. Now, when it's not, it's really frustrating and definitely can be a little difficult. So if you have someone designing a tile set for you, send them a picture of the version you want, either 47 or 16, and then they can work with that and figure out exactly how to place it. If not, you may just have to do a little bit of legwork. But the nice thing is, once you complete it, it is all set and ready to go. So we can rename this tile set over here by right-clicking, renaming. We'll just name this wall. We'll go into our room, and now we have a wall tile set. And this is where the real magic comes in. So I just left click and I hold it down, and if I move across, it's going to start doing the correct tile based on the position of other tiles around it. So this gets really, really cool and really, really powerful. And then you can also right click to delete them, and you can see they delete in just the perfect order. So you can put these in however you want. It'll do the spaces around them as well. So it fills them in and it looks terrific no matter what you're doing or how large of a map you have to make. This is a quick and easy way to design it with auto tiling. And that's it. That is everything you need to know about working with tile sets, getting them into your game, and being able to prepare beautiful looking levels in just minutes. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, and as I always like to say, keep making, keep learning, and I'll talk to you later.